Thank you guys for tuning into this channel. I'm your host, Will Smith, and this is WSC, where we talk tech, life, and entertainment. And today we have a special guest on the channel. I'd like to introduce Cole to the many masses. Cole, please introduce yourself.
Great to be here. Thanks, William. I appreciate you having me on. My name is Cole Stark. I'm the CMO at Pieces for Developers, a productivity tool for developers to help them be a little bit more efficient, a little bit more effective in the work that they do throughout a lot of their work. We're sort of a horizontal tool that works throughout their workflow, as opposed to a single extension or a single tool that helps them accomplish one thing. Really excited to be here. Really happy you brought me in, and looking forward to getting into it a little bit more.
Love it. So tell us about Pieces. What's the history, the why, the reason? Tell us your story.
So I've actually only been at Pieces for about 10 months or so, a little under a year. I found Pieces through Miami, Ohio. So that's the university I went to. A lot of the company is actually from Ohio. Like myself, I live in San Francisco now, working remotely. Yeah, there's a lot of great people that come out of that university. I was working at a marketing agency before this, a startup agency with just a handful of people on the digital marketing side of things, creating ads or other growth marketing activities to bring them into the public. I really liked this, sort of out of the house, way of working. And I never thought I would go in-house into a company. I even started my own agency for a little bit as I found myself, working with a lot of different clients, doing everything from conceptualizing, what are the issues, talking to the client, understanding what's their issue with. Figured I'm managing 5 clients by myself. Why not go ahead and start my own agency, take more of that share of the profit for myself? So one of my first big clients was Pieces for Developers. Met Savo. Well, I met him in school, but he came out to San Francisco for a conference, shooting some pool and talking about marketing and what we're both doing. And he found that it was the perfect time in the company for some growth activities. So he hired me on. It's been a whirlwind since then. My time at Pieces, it's changed a lot. So we sort of started out strictly a code snippet manager. Savo, our founder, he identified issues in sort of the file fragments that you interact with on a day-to-day basis as a developer. So the things that you're copying and pasting, screenshots, small snippets of code. And he found that there, is oftentimes a lot of, context switching that occurs when you are, taking a piece of code and putting it somewhere else. Simple as that. I've heard stories from users where the way that they organize code is either in the Notes app, they'll just paste it there, or some people even would create HTML files or PDFs and save their code in there and, name it accordingly, put it in their documents folder on their desktop or whatever. And this, is obviously a pretty inefficient way to store things. And when it comes to sharing those things, let's say you have a repository, you want to share it with someone. Oftentimes you have to save that repository to your desktop. You have to upload it into email or something like that. They have to download it onto their computer so they're able to, identify this final piece of code. So essentially, we wanted to make a great place to save things. And that started out with, an interface that runs on Mac OS, Linux, and Windows. Just a desktop application that you can paste code into, and we'll store it in a more organized fashion. Auto enrichment is one of the biggest things that helps you stay organized in this process, where everything that you save in there or paste into the app is going to be given a title, a description, tags, related links that we pull from the internet, and other context and metadata around these code snippets. So it's more easily, searchable, it's more organized, and it's easier to reuse these things when you actually need them. And since then, since the original concept of the code snippet manager, it's evolved a lot this year. And
I love the story of humble beginnings. And you're right, a lot of devs do things very insecurely. Sometimes you're not really worried about compliance. Sometimes you're not really worried about the most productive thing. You just want to get the darn thing done.
Yeah, and adoption is not an easy thing. They don't like to be sold to. They don't like a lot of that language that you might use in a more business format when you're selling to another organization. Let's show a demo, and then I could give you a hint on what's next on our roadmap.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, happy to share my screen and show you guys. So right off the bat here, this is our desktop application. I'm on Mac, but it works across different operating systems. If you have Windows, Linux, it works on those operating systems as well. This app, it's built with Dart and Flutter, and being able to create an application that works across these different systems was probably one of the most difficult things for pieces to figure out. And it's worked really well so far. But let me just sort of walk you through a little bit of the app, and then I'll explain how it is embedded a little bit across your workflow. So starting out, we're looking at the list view. This is, similar to the Notes app, I would say, where, you got your code snippets here on the left. These are the little, file fragments that you can save from your projects. And everything you save, like I mentioned, is given a title. We use on-device ML models that are fine-tuned to be able to create all of this context around everything that you save. So immediately when you save something, you're getting a title, you're getting these annotations explaining, what the code does, how to use it. You can add other annotations as you like. If I were, for example, to save this code snippet from my IDE, like VS Code, you would get an anchor here, which links right back to your repository at the exact spot. So you don't have to do a lot of scrolling through your repo, your code base to find exactly where that code snippet was, to understand what was before it, what was after it, what does this code mean? That's an overarching sort of theme that you'll see with pieces is context. We want to make sure that people are not only capturing the elements throughout their workflow, but also the who, what, when, where, how, and why. How did they get there? Where did this come from? What does it do? Who did you get this from? And that's another piece of metadata that is attached. For example, if someone were to, send me this code snippet through a shareable link, such as the one that I am generating right now, that is created into a custom subdomain here. You could see code.pieces.cloud, and I could go ahead and copy this, send it to someone. You can open it up in a browser, even as a non-user, so that you're not just getting a code snippet, but you're also getting the context around it. Related links is one aspect that people really like about our auto enrichment, as it gives you documentation links, things to help you understand more about this code snippet, further your project, take you down on a relevant journey. Suggested searches to help you find things. You'll see we have this search bar up here, tags to make it a little bit more organized. And this is a cool piece right here, the sensitive information. So let's say I saved an API key or another piece of sensitive code. Pieces will actually use machine learning to identify the sensitive key or the password, something that's in there, and hide it. If you were to share this code snippet, it'll flag, it'll say, hey, you sure you want to share this? There's sensitive information in here. Just being a little proactive about our security and privacy, because we know that users are going to be saving things that they don't necessarily want everyone to see. And in line with that sort of ideology, everything that you save to pieces is on device. So it's not in the cloud. I could turn off my Wi-Fi and still use this app completely. It's secure on your device, and you can access those files whenever you want, back them up, share them to another computer, anything like that. So this is the list view. If you have a large code snippet, you can go to the gallery view here, view a little bit better, and that's sort of a carousel format to view your snippets. But I will take you into the workflow activity next. We're making some big improvements to this, but essentially it's just a timeline of the things that you've interacted with. So I haven't really touched on this yet, but Pieces sits across your workflow, right? So we have integrations with browsers, with IDEs, and with collaboration tools. So sort of the three pillars of a developer's workflow. You want to make sure that you're easily able to capture things from each of those pillars, as well as reuse things, reference, the data around that. And so we made sure that our workflow activity was able to, understand where those things are coming from, who they're coming from. And I actually, I had a funny conversation here just now, but all of this workflow activity is tracked. So let's say I'm in the browser here, I'm on Stack Overflow, and I'm researching a code snippet. You'll see when I hover over this code snippet, 3 buttons pop up, right? So copy and save it. You could share it. That's generating the shareable link. Or you can launch our AI Copilot. So let me first just copy and save this. And you can see if I go back to the app, it's already in there, right? So we have this code snippet, and we've already done the auto enrichment that is creating the context around this code snippet. So you'll see that generated some related links, including the origin website, so that if I wanted to revisit that website, a lot of developers will have 50 tabs open because they don't want to lose that code snippet that they spent 20, 30 minutes trying to find. But if they save it to pieces, it's available right here. Yeah, you can go ahead and rename anything, but essentially that was the save function. And we also have this Copilot. So right when I click that button, it's going to define what the code snippet does. And I can go ahead and say, what does this do? The Copilot works, in your browser. It works in your code editor. It works in your collaboration tool. And all of those conversations persist even to the desktop application and throughout your entire tool chain. So you could see that conversation's right here, and I could go ahead and continue engaging with it, or I could start a new conversation. But this is one of the the biggest features of Pieces that people really like. I'll just show you a couple of cool things about this right now. One, you can set the context of your conversation. So let's say I wanted to add a personal repository here. I could add a folder. I could add specific code snippets that I have saved. I can add even website URLs, and it'll go and sort of scrape all the code snippets on a certain page. Let's say I'm looking at like a documentation link, and I want to understand how to get started with it. See, it pulled 8 snippets from that page and set the context. Messages is a really cool one. Let's say you're in a chat here, and oftentimes with tools like ChatGPT, you have a little bit of a hallucination going on once you have a really long conversation. So, oftentimes if you want to ask a question about your repository, you're going to have to copy paste, multiple times so that you can fit all of your context within the window, the input window that it allows. Well, with Pieces, you could just set an entire repository through here. And to avoid this hallucination, you can set these messages as context as well. So that it, guides the Copilot to remember what we're talking about, make sure that it's delivering, code that's relevant to my project specifically and to our conversation. So that's sort of the setting context part. You can add screenshots here if you want. It's multimodal, and this is one of my favorite parts. So right here, I am choosing the LLM that I want to use for my conversation. So to generate code, to ask questions about my code. Right now, I'm using GPT-4. We have Palm 2, Google's LLMs, but we also have on-device models. So I can choose, Llama 2. This is a GPU model. It generates code extremely fast, but I've got this model downloaded on my computer. Therefore, nothing at all through my conversations with this AI is pinging out to the internet. I could turn off my Wi-Fi. I was using it on the plane the other day. It's pretty cool because in secure environments, let's say you're at a bank, or you are an agency for the DoD. you worry about where your sensitive code is going. And I know Samsung stopped using ChatGPT because they were nervous about their proprietary code going out and OpenAI using it to train the LLM. We're offline on device first, so we want to make sure that our developers feel comfortable using our product because it's all local. So,
and let me say, it is aesthetically beautiful, right? Like, one thing I do like being a developer, first thing I do, turn on dark mode and then have all the colors, especially for the keywords. Like I said, it's aesthetically beautiful and it's simple. It's clean, it makes sense.
you can change your colors here, your messages, and I'll show you that OCR feature. So, we have a fine-tuned machine learning model to take screenshots and turn them into code. So, and you could do this in the list view as well. It'll save it. It'll, auto enrich it. But you could do it in the Copilot as well if you're trying to move fast and you want to, pull some code from a screenshot someone sent you, or you are watching a YouTube tutorial and you want to just take a quick screenshot. You can do that. And we're actually working on video OCR right now as well, so that you'll be able to take a YouTube video and our AI will basically go frame by frame and pull out any useful code snippets that it goes over, show them to you so you could select, oh yeah, this is the one I was looking for, and use it to set the context or talk about it with your Copilot. The last thing I'll say that I love about this tool is the quick actions here. So any code snippet that you generate with the Copilot, you can just save it right away. You could share it. You can add inline comments. So, annotate it. I know that's something that that people don't, necessarily like to do very often, update their code with the comments. You can find similar snippets. So if you are a junior developer and you're trying to learn and you don't want to use, too much AI because you want to retain all the information about how you're actually writing the code, you can use this tool to find similar snippets, and that'll pull out, some related things. You can identify the differences between them and sort of use that to make sure you're getting the right code snippet. That's our Copilot. You can launch it too from the list view as well. If you are on a specific snippet, just click that and it'll set the context, define it, and continue conversation from there. So like I said earlier, Pieces is great, not only for the boost in productivity you get from using our desktop application, but all of these features are available in our integrations. So if you're in VS Code, you can right click on a repository and just ask the Copilot about it. Any size of repository, just what does this code do? I was talking to a user the other day who's still in school, and they were doing a hackathon, and he was put on a team of 3. He didn't, he got this repository that was in Dart, and he wasn't familiar with the Dart language, so he didn't think that he would be able to contribute very much. But then he remembered he had Pieces Copilot, and that's exactly how he told me the story. So he just right-clicked on the repository, said, "Hey, what does this code do?" Could explain the code line by line, and was able to contribute based on using our product. So.
Dude, and that right there too, right? Like, you have a product that a non-technical person could even use to explain a specific piece. It's always a challenge between project managers and developers, because when you're doing a specific feature, the developer has to explain what the heck's actually happening. And to have a tool that could go in, specifically look up a piece of work that's been changed, right? Like, it can see the change sets and see what a person has done and explain what's happening. It makes it a little bit easier to use, and just like overall just productivity, right? Like, it's kudos whoever made that.
Yeah, no, our engineering team is insane. And you mentioned a good point too about, the disparity between project managers and actual developers. I think, the upgrades that we're going to do to our workflow activity view is is going to be huge for that sort of scenario. Pieces is great for individual developers, and we've made a point to focus on these individuals. If you introduce it to an enterprise environment, you want people to actually use this tool as an individual, right? You don't want to force people to use it. So you make it great for the individual, and all of those benefits compound into a team. So project managers can, take a look at workflow activity of people on their team and understand, hey, what was Dave doing last week? And this is super helpful for onboarding. I know there's a lot of developer turnover nowadays, so being able to understand, how the team is collaborated when you have these different co-pilots that are all personalized to a single person, essentially talking to each other and giving this more holistic information about how was the team collaborated to make this final code base, so that when a new dev comes onto the team, they're not just seeing, pristine code. They're able to understand how they got there, who was working on what, where they got their materials, what each piece of material means. It's a whole sort of ecosystem that we're trying to capture and surface materials at the right time. There's a co-pilot for everything. Everyone's trying to build their co-pilot, but the difference between those and pieces is that pieces is horizontal. It sits across all of your tools, learning from the interactions that you have within these tools through a process called retrieval augmented generation. People like things to be personalized, right? When you're writing code, you don't want to just generate boilerplate code, right? So you want this AI tool to understand, what code was I working with in my repository, who was I talking about it with in Microsoft Teams or Slack, and generating code based on all of those interactions. So it's sort of a companion that follows you along in your work in progress journey and generates and answers questions for you, and helps to surface the right things at the right times.
What's the future? What's the next step? What's going to happen?
Well, we're exploring this concept of feeds. So think like TikTok for developers, for example. It's except it's more going to be focused on being able to identify actual useful materials that you need and helping you to use them when you need again. So learning from your workflow through that process, like I just mentioned, retrieval augmented generation, RAG. We're able to create these ghost assets that are essentially auto-saved code snippets, you could think of it as. So little pieces that are generated in the background based on the things that you're interacting with. So some of these will decay over time if you're no longer, engaging in a certain language or not interacting with things as much. But it's essentially an algorithm that is understanding what's most important to you. What are the things that make you most productive? What are the things you're interacting with the most? And generating these snippets, some of them will be saved to your repository to be used later. But they'll sort of populate this feed that you can use to identify, things that might help you. So code snippets, related links, suggested searches, and other things that you saw in the context view, just on demand as you need them. So it's still a proof of concept, and we're starting to, discuss this within our engineering team. But that's sort of where we're going, is more proactive, more useful, and more personalized and intelligent.
To be determined feeds. Oh man. So I guess any final remarks? Do you have anything you want anyone to take home?
Try us out, pieces.app. That's our website. You can download our desktop application, download our plugins, and just play around with it. It's still free, so we are going to be, turning on some pricing in the new year here, as we've got some good traction. And if you download it before the end of the year, then you'll be grandfathered in for a year. So you get, a solid value there. And if you really like it and you like the technology that sort of runs these, the background pieces OS technology that powers the desktop app and powers these other integrations, then we've just open sourced it. So we're creating these SDKs. If you're a developer yourself and you like to build on open source, then check out our website, go to our Discord. That's where we're creating a community, and we're doing a lot there. So come hang out, just say hi in the Discord, and help us build some new integrations, create your own app using our technology. We just want people to take advantage of it, to give us feedback, and to join our community and hang out with us and build great AI products.
Cool, man. Thank you so much again for introducing this wonderful tool, application, all around, co-pilot, everything. And once again, guys, please, if you're new to the channel, man, please follow Pieces, follow Cole. We'll have his information in the description. But man, beautiful application. It looks great. It functions very well. My grandmother probably would understand it if she knew how to code. But man, very, very thankful for you to be on and just really introducing us to this wonderful application.
Thanks so much, Will. I really appreciate you having me on. It's been a blast.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys, you heard it from here. If you guys want to learn more about it, we'll leave those in the description. But hey, this is William Smith for WSC. Hope to see you guys soon in the next video.